Good afternoon, everyone. I warmly welcome you to the first English debate of the second term in the junior division. The topic for today is being a child is harder than being an adult. Our judges for today are Ms. Crispin, Mr. James, Mr. Mandal, and Mr. Christopher Singh. The order in which the four houses will be speaking today is Condon, Foy, Pal, and Allen. May I remind the speakers that they will be given 3 minutes to express their views for and against the motion. After 2 minutes, a bell shall be rung, and after the third minute, the second bell shall be rung. After a speaker has concluded his or her debate, members of the other teams are permitted to ask 2 questions. If they do not do so within 30 seconds, the speaker will be awarded full marks for rebuttal. So I do urge participants today to ask as many questions as they can. Without further ado, I call upon the first speaker, Bhuvi Handa of Condon House.
A lot of people say kids don't have that hard of a life because they don't have to work, worry about taxes, and get summers off. But a lot of times that is a myth. People who say kids have it easier remind me of the people who say a teacher's job is easy just because they teach us, shout, and get summers off. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Bhuvi Handa of Condon House, would like to present my views for the motion. An adult goes through many stages in life, and so they have experience and know how to react to situations. Adults have more knowledge than children. They know what is best for them, but children on the other hand have no control on their actions and end up hurting themselves. Children have study and family pressure, which often results in depression. Children are not independent and so have to stay and do what their parents say. There is this one thought that I'm sure you all must have had at least once. I can't wait to grow up and become an adult. Have you ever wondered why? Well, let me tell you. As a child, you're always told, don't do this, don't do that. There are rules for every single thing. Our lives are controlled by our parents, grandparents, and teachers. On the other hand, when you're an adult, no one controls you 24/7. You will be able to do things like going out with your friends without begging your parents to get you to the place. Children are emotional and don't know who and what to trust. Adults are emotionally and physically stronger, so factors that annoy you are less. Many children cry for very simple things, while adults are more likely to control the situation and solve problems easily. As a child, our parents think we're too immature to make our own decisions, so they try to do that for us. Parents everywhere act as though children are stupid and can't have opinions, and are often just ignored because, oh, what important could a child say? We, as children, are completely left out of conversations. This does make one feel awful. As a child, you still don't know who you are because you're still trying to figure it out. In conclusion, I would like to quote Beverly Michelle's, I think the hardest part about being a teenager is dealing with other teenagers, the criticism, the gossip, the rumors. Kids are easily bullied for things they can't even control, like acne, being short or tall, being obese, and much more. Thank you.
Questions? Foy House.
As you mentioned in your debate that children are not independent. Please comment.
Children are not independent because they are in their parents' care, and when they're in the parents' care, the parents guide the children, so they aren't really supposed to make their own decisions. Thank you.
Pal House.
You mentioned in your debate that children have to, follow the rules set by their parents, grandparents, etc. So, do you like since they're children, do you think they would know what to do if they didn't have those rules set for them? Please comment.
Thank you for the question. With the permission of this chairperson, I will ask this question. Children have rules because they need to follow them, but also there are some rules that are not as important. They don't think that there is a need to follow them.
Thank you, Guru. Rishabh Rathori against the motion.
Child, how happy you are, sitting in the dust, playing with a little broken twig all over the morning. I smile at your play with that little bit of a broken twig. I am busy with my accounts, adding up figures by the hour. Child, I have forgotten the art of being absorbed in sticks and mud pies. A very good afternoon to the judges, my fellow opponents, and the house at large. I, Rishabh Rathori of Condon House, will be speaking against the topic, being a child is harder than being an adult. Every adult wants to return to childhood. Adulthood looks like the grass is greener, but it has so many trials and tribulations that it is hard to keep count. A child's life is way easier for numerous reasons. Even though most children will disagree, a child's life is way more enjoyable. It is easier to gain new knowledge and there is less responsibility. For a child, life is full of possibilities. We have time to play and it is considered a good thing to use our imagination. Life is seen in all its greatness instead of its misery, unlike an adult who has to provide for their family. In addition to that, while kids go out happily for a ride or a trip, or maybe they're resting in their comfortable homes, parents have to pay for the ride, trip, home, or anything else that the kid wants or needs. Now coming to responsibilities. Even though a child is supposed to be responsible in simple matters, the major burden of it is borne by the parents. A child does not have to worry about any of it. All a child knows about is freedom, whereas an adult is burdened with responsibilities about almost every other thing in the world. Furthermore, in adulthood, the innocence, passion, and perception of freedom are knocked out. The adults become tied down with consequences, unattainable goals, and unrealistic responsibility. In the end, I'd like to say that adulthood is the second stage of life, and the second stage is always harder than the first. Thank you.
Questions? Allen House.
Mr. Speaker, how can you say that every adult wants to turn into a child again? I do not think this is the case with every adult, as they might be happy with their lives. Please comment.
Thank you for the question, Madam Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer. See, in most cases, every adult wants to become a child again because childhood was way easier. Even if they're living a good life, they have more difficulties than they would as a child. Thank you.
As you mentioned in your debate that children have less responsibility. Please comment.
Thank you for the question, Madam Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer. See, children have a lot less going on in their lives. They have a lot more time to perform extracurricular activities and perform things so that they can be better adults. See, as good children, they have to become better adults, and that is why they have less responsibility. They don't have responsibility at all because in comparison to adults who have lots of things on their minds. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. Aban Javed from Foy House speaking for the motion.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, honorable judges, and my dear friends. I just love the topic prevailing in the house this afternoon because, guess what? I just can't wait to be an adult as it is so much simpler. I get to say words like, no you can't, don't do that, I am older so I know better, I told you so, and wash behind your ears. As an adult, I will be the master of myself, and now that is a delicious proposition. Hey, I could even have ice cream for breakfast and cake for lunch, which I am not allowed just now. As children, we have no freedom. Our lives are controlled by our parents, teachers, aunties, uncles, principals, and neighbors. As an adult, I would get to drive to office and earn money to buy myself presents. And most importantly, I would get to take care of my parents. Oh yes, and how could I forget? I wouldn't have to share a room with anybody. I would be the master of myself and king of my castle. Have you noticed a special privilege that only adults enjoy? They do exactly what they stop little children from doing. I have to pay attention in class and not sleep, but they can sleep through boring meetings and speeches. Being an adult is definitely better, as you are explaining things logically and not giving strange and bizarre explanations for everything. Feeding children far-fetched tales about tooth fairies and monsters under their beds? Can you believe it? As an adult, and since we are on the subject, let me ask you another question, dear children. Don't you hate it when your cheeks are pulled and you are laughed at or dismissed as being childish? Hey, we have feelings too, you know. As children, we are often asked a very funny question. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a grown-up. Thank you.
Questions? Comments?
How can you say that as adults we are independent and adults like that and have no one to look after them?
As adults, I can say that we are independent as we can make decisions for ourselves and we are free to do whatever we want. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, how can you say that we as children don't have any freedom? Please comment on that.
With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer the question. As children, we have no freedom as most of our options are first declared by our parents to be right or wrong, and our parents mostly either way make the decision for us. We are not allowed to roam outside alone. I hope that answers your question.
Anya Goyal of Foy House speaking against the motion.
With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to start. What kind of a world is this? You get only 15 years to be... Okay. What about exploring?
things are important too. This quote from the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes says it all, doesn't it? Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, honorable judges, and my worthy friends. I would like to point out that childhood is much more than homework and adults bossing you around. It is a phase when human beings are most creative, spontaneous, and innocent. Children only feel the stress when adults transfer their dreams onto them. But this is nothing compared to what an adult feels when he is about to lose his job and has a family to feed. You are a bad parent. You will never be able to succeed. This is what adults have to face. Paulo Coelho, a famous writer, says that a child can teach an adult three things: to be happy for no reason, to always be curious, and to work tirelessly for something. As a student at Wynberg-Allen, I do all these things. I explore, discover, play. I am happy, curious, and I work towards bettering myself. However, adults around the world are so caught up in making ends meet that they have forgotten what it's like to be happy. You might have heard people say, sometimes you got to act like a 4-year-old to be happy. Children are optimistic and love to explore and believe in fairy tales, which is very inspiring and motivating, especially in moments when you feel hopeless. Adults outgrow this innocence and allow hatred, insecurities, and greed to change them. Adults are pretty much on their own in this big, bad world. That is why it is harder to be an adult. They constantly struggle to be good role models. Being a good human being can be very difficult, especially when adults are constantly being criticized by society for their choices. A 12-year-old summarized it beautifully. She said, at school, you teach us how to behave in the world. You teach us not to fight with others, to work things out, not to be greedy. Then why? Why do you go out and do the same? I would like to end with the words of Neil Donald Walsh. Love the world with the readiness of children. Change the world with the wisdom of children. Because they do it effortlessly. Thank you.
Questions? Comments?
How can you say that adults are alone in this world?
Thank you for your question, Madam Interjector. I would like to answer with the permission of the chairperson. Adults are alone in this world because not all adults want to go out and ask for help. And sometimes when they are in depression, they don't really go out and ask for help, which leaves them alone in this world. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, you said that children have to listen. You said that adult life is harder than children. So would you say this applies to the children who have parents who abuse them?
Thank you for your question, Madam Interjector. I would like to answer with the permission of the chairperson. A child's life, an adult's life is harder than a child's life because, could you please repeat your question?
I said that you said that adult life is harder than children. So would you say this applies to children who have parents who abuse them?
Adults' life is harder than a child's life, but when a child is getting abused by their parent, or in fact by anyone, a child can trust people easily and go and ask for help. So it is actually more easier for a child to go and ask for help, and there are adults out there in the world who are actually ready to help children. But it's just that the child has to come and ask for help.
Thank you, Anna. Advitya Gera of Pal House speaking for the motion.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, members of the jury, my worthy opponents, and the House at large. Being a child is harder than being an adult, and I, Advitya Gera, stand in favor of the motion. Childhood has long said to be the golden period of a person's life. It is a time so precious that once it passes, people look back at the fond memories and wish that their time as a child was longer. The life of a child has innocence, pure joy, exciting times, and merriment. Almost all adults feel that children have an easygoing life, but is it really that case? On the contrary, child life is not as smooth and relaxed as adults portray it to be. There is much more which goes on in the life of a child. The challenges and difficulties one faces as a child can make or break his or her life. It is a long established fact that experiences during childhood can have an adverse effect on a child, scarring a child's life forever. This is because a child does not have the same level of experience and endurance as an adult has to go through tough phases in his own life. During these tough phases, the role of an adult, that is the parent, in guiding the child and navigating them through rough waters is crucial, but added pressure and expectations from parents make a child's life hard to work. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in every 4 children is depressed because of the parental pressure faced by a child. A typical day in the school life of a child is in no way less hectic and grueling than that of a working adult. After a strenuous day at school, many of them have to rush for maths or science tuitions, and if that is not enough, they have to go for extracurricular activities like dance, music, painting, or sports for which parents have expectations from the kids. Competitive parents make it worse by shaming and comparing their children with others. Dance, music, and drawing are an excellent means of relaxing, but today, even though these activities are viewed competitively, which puts children under immense pressure. Authoritative parenting rather than authoritarian parenting is tied to high self-esteem in children. When parents are overly containing, children can lose faith in themselves and their ability to do things or listen to their own feelings. My opponents may say that guidance given by parents to their children makes a child's life easier. But there are innumerable children across the world who are orphans or who live away from their families due to some extraordinary circumstances. Such children are forced to lead a tough and an independent life. Academic and peer pressure are the two most common forms of pressure faced by children. Adults who don't face either peer pressure or academic pressure might consider them to be petty problems, but the reality is that this has led to an increase in anxiety. In conclusion, I would like to say that the wrong notion of a child's life being easier is created amongst adults when they fail to empathize and understand the hardships their children face on a daily basis.
Questions? Almost.
In your debate, you mentioned that children are depressed, but even adults are depressed. So, what are your views on that? I said that in your debate, you mentioned that children are depressed, but even adults are depressed. So, what are your views on that?
Would you like me to rephrase the question? She's saying that some adults also go through depression, but in your debate you said that children are the ones who go through depression. So what do you have to say about that? Next question, Allen House.
Mr. Speaker, how can you say that many of them have to go for dance or maths tuitions or extracurricular activities, but don't you think it's the child's own choice? Please comment.
I would like to answer the question. It is their own choice, but some parents send their children forcefully.
I request all students to sit up, wake everyone around you. 7s and 8s. Devishi Katyal of Pal House will now speak against the motion.
The good old days. Back when I was a child. And then the unstoppable talking. I'm sure you've all heard these stories countless times from your parents going on and on about how they want to relive their childhood. Needless to say, adulthood is not easy. Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, respected adjudicators and the House at large. Today, I, Devishi Katyal of Pal House, am going to present my views against the topic. Being a child is harder than being an adult. Adulting means responsibility, being independent and being responsible. Suddenly jumping from being a child to an adult and struggling with independence is hard to cope with, because being independent doesn't mean you're free. It means you are an individual and you have to individually perform the tasks of daily life, earning a living. As an adult, it is naturally expected from you to earn a living, not only for yourself, but for your family as well. And of course, that's not the wrong thing to do. But the pressure put on an adult for earning finances and being made to do a job with more money benefits rather than something of choice just doesn't seem fair. So much pressure just because you've grown by age? Why? Don't forget that for an adult, being mentally prepared is very, very important. You have to behave a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way, like how adults are expected to. A small immature act can cause a big negative impact and will be remembered for longer than expected. When you're a child, you're very carefree and you're not that self-aware. But as you grow up, you get a reality check about adulthood and often think of people judging you. Being an adult is hard because you have to think about taking each step, whereas when you're a child, the options are not always as risky as the options given to an adult. You have so much life pressure to be successful. When you become an adult, you can choose how to live your life and which path you want to take. The world is a very big and dangerous place, which is why you have to be careful and avoid those things which negatively affect you. Pressure, pressure, pressure. The older you get, the harder it gets for you to do what you want. It is extremely difficult for an adult to find a perfect balance between your personal, social and work life. At the same time, taking care of oneself is important. Taking care of your own mental and physical health while trying to take care of your loved ones and putting others' needs before yours is not the way someone would want to live as a free adult. Adults live a tiring and uneasy life. We often think that becoming an adult would be nice since as children we don't get enough freedom and privacy, but once you grow up, you may not even have the time for your own private life. Giving you an example of our school, our old teachers and our prefects are always sighing with stress. One of them told me that adulthood is like looking both sides before crossing the road and then getting hit by an airplane. I'm just 13 and I already go through so many struggles. I would like to conclude by saying, kids, avoid growing up. Adulthood isn't easy and I wouldn't recommend it.
Madam Speaker, how can you say that a child is not self-aware? Please comment on this.
Well, with the permission of the chair, I would like to answer the question. When you're a child, you're not that self-aware because you don't have most
you don't have all the understanding of all the things that are surrounding you. I hope that answered your question.
You mentioned in your debate that adults are independent. So, why do they have to listen to other people giving them financial advice?
With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer the question. They don't have to listen to other people's financial advice. It's up to them if they want to listen to it or not, because it's their money, and it's up to them if they want to listen or not.
I now call upon Arif Goel of Allen House speaking in favor of the motion.
Get up for morning runs. Do your homework. Do your bed. Study for exams. Why did you score so less in your exams? This is my life right now. Good afternoon, respected chairperson and all the house members. Have you as a child ever wondered that your life is too difficult or your problems were too big to deal with? Every child experiences moments where they feel inadequate, deficient or not good enough when it comes to decision making and are compared to others. Let's be honest, aren't all our decisions solely made by our parents or teachers or grandparents? If we score low in an exam or worry that we are not as basketball court, it's not uncommon for us as kids to compare ourselves to others. And that, my friends, leads to a change in our performance. We seriously go through the grind when it comes to being a child. Let's take adults for that matter. They don't have to worry about exams or completing their homework in time. They live a carefree, independent life where they are their own bosses and make the decisions which suit them the best. We often as children come in the pressure of our peers, as it can be in the form of making wrong choices or not having the courage to say no. But because we are so influenced by our friends or peers that we lose focus on what is right and follow the crowd. Well, with me, you can say that happens more than I'd like to say. The struggle is real. Academics. Now, don't even get me started on this one. The data says that 82.2% of students suffer from exam syndrome. This is often a result of a previous experience of exam. Poor preparation, worry about failure or pressure to perform. I remember the night before my exams, how stressed out I was and couldn't sleep the entire night, even though I knew everything. Just the fear of failure took away a good night's sleep, leading to stress and anxiety. All I'm here to say is that the grass, I think, is actually greener on the other side. Because here, right now, being a child is harder than being an adult. Thank you.
Questions, comments?
As you mentioned in your debate that adults don't have to give exams and they lead a carefree, independent life, don't you think that even adults work and they have projects? If they're working in a company, they have projects to submit to their bosses and which their boss has to give further. So I think even they have pressure.
With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to answer this question. Of course, adults also have pressure on their work, but they know how to solve it. They know how to go through the pressure, and I think I've answered your question.
You said in your debate that adults don't have to worry about exams, but don't they have other bigger problems to worry about? Please comment.
Of course, they have other problems to think about and worry about, but they know how to get through it. They know how to get through all this. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you, Anju. Nitya Agarwal of Allen House speaking against the motion.
We spend our whole childhood wanting to grow up faster, but we spend our whole adult life wanting to go back to the simplicity of being a kid again. Unknown. Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson and the House at large. The topic for today is a child's life is harder than an adult, and I firmly stand against this topic. As children, we have been provided with everything by our parents. It was never expected of us to think rationally and make decisions. But when a person transitions into an adult, expectations people have from them and the responsibilities on their shoulders drastically increases. Marriage, success at work, finances, etc. are frequently discussed topics among adults. Their lives are critically analyzed, which has a negative effect on their mental health. Children do not have to worry about meeting the society norms and are free to do whatever they want. Children live in a very protected environment provided by their parents and family. The elders around a child act as a shield and protect them from dangers and help them to overcome obstacles. On the other hand, adults have to learn to take care of themselves and be accountable for their actions. Taking celebrities, for example, for many of us, they are an inspiration. But aren't they accountable for each and every action they make? If they make a mistake, the whole world pounces on them like vultures. If constantly being speculated and criticized by the world does not cause stress, I don't know what does. Growing up to become an adult may come with its responsibilities and challenges, but it doesn't mean we should be scared of it. We should embrace it with confidence and with faith in ourselves, because even though adulthood might have its obstacles, but it's a beautiful process. Thank you.
Fayaz, ask your question.
As you said in your debate that the expectations for adults is a lot, but don't you think the expectations that parents have for their children to score high in exams is even worse?
I do not think this is the same, because expectations parents have from their children is not much compared to adults. People think adults should get a better job to earn more salary. They have to see that they get a better job to earn a better living and get better salary. So with this, I think so I've answered your question.
Someone else?
How can you say children can do whatever they want when adults have so many rules for them? Please comment.
I can say children can do whatever they want, because even if children make a mistake, their parents and elders always come to cover it up. And the mistakes they make, the other people say, oh, just a child. Does it really matter? But when adults make mistake, you are expected to bear its consequences. And with that, I think so I've answered your question.
Thank you, Nitya. I now call upon members of the audience to come up and present their views. Shreyansh Kanodia against the motion.
Good afternoon to the outside large. Well, I think that a child's life is way more easier than an adult, because if we compare both of them, there can be many points that can be summed up. But I think the main one is that the adult has a problem, that is the financial conditions. He has to earn money and has to look after many things. So, max to max, if you're not doing your homework, you're a child, what would be the consequences? The punishment, or maybe you're standing outside the class or task or something. But if an adult doesn't earn money, he'll face a much worse. Thank you.
Himanshi Kathet against the motion.
How many times have you been out and you witnessed something like a fight or an accident or something very terrible, and it just ruined your mood, or you weren't just happy after that? You know, your parents, adults are out there every single day going through something like this. Still they make sure they come home, spend time with you, and just make sure no one notices and worries. I think that's much more harder. Thank you.
Ishika Ramola against the motion.
I think being a child is better than being an adult because child don't have many responsibilities, but adults they have many responsibilities, and children don't have to take stress. And have you ever noticed, whenever you want to do something, first you have to take your parents' permission, and then they decide then you can do this or not. So I think being a children more easy than being an adult. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishika. Yuvika Baranwal for the motion.
Being is harder than being an adult because our parents give us stress for reaching their high expectations. While children are taught not to do bad things, but on the other hand, our adults do it. We get bad motivation, and when we do it, we get scolding. So, do you think it's right? Thank you.
Thank you, Yuvika. Parv Chauhan against the motion.
I think it's better being an adult. It's better being a child than an adult, because adults have a great amount of responsibility on their shoulders, and adults also have stress of work, while children are carefree and can enjoy their life better. Thank you.
Thank you, Parv. Sanvi against the motion.
I think being an adult is harder because they are burdened with responsibilities as they have work to do and earn money for their children so they can have a better living. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanvi. Rhythm speaking for the motion.
I feel that children are at a learning stage and they have different challenges to cope up with every day. And some children are not able to cope up with all the difficulties and different challenges they face in their day-to-day lives. But adults, on the other hand, have learned to cope up with the difficulties and to clear the difficulties. And adults also have a constant life to live and are also aware of the targets and the goals. But children are always under stress to choose a successful career and to work hard for it as hard as possible. Because if they do not work hard, there are 10 more people behind them who are way better than them. Hence, I conclude that child life is way more difficult than adult life. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhythm. Shwetan against the motion.
I think being an adult is harder than being a child because adults have to earn a living, and not only for themselves but also for their family and their loved ones. And I think for them to earn that much money, they might and most probably they have to do many jobs at once. And most adults have their breaking point by doing many jobs, and many adults go homeless because of these. And not only that, when an adult tells things to a children like do this and do that, they're telling it for our own good because they have been through our lifehood and they have more experience. That's why I think we should listen to adults sometimes, and also that their life is harder. Thank you.
Thank you, Shwetan. Are we speaking for the motion?
Good afternoon to all of you who are all sitting in the auditorium. I will be speaking for the motion. Being an adult being a child is harder than being an adult because we we type students of class 7 and 8 have to work hard during the school premises. But there is a poetry, means if you work hard, you will get success. Thank you.
Against the motion.
In childhood, a child has difficult life because they have a lots of tests and exam preparation. But it's the only stage of life where we can make ours and our family life better.
Thank you, Nish. Avisha Singhal against the motion.
I would go against the motion because adults have to even go for a job which he or her does, and he have to do the projects and all, and a child only have to get up and go for school and do homework. Thank you.
Thank you, Avisha. Ayana Thakran against the motion.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd be against the motion because adults have a lot of stress upon them because of all of their responsibilities, that is, their work, earning money, and feeding a whole family. And children have a little less stress than adults because they are free to do whatever they want. They can play, they can study, and whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayana. Avanya speaking for the motion.
I think that being a child is sometimes very pressurizing as we have to meet our parents' expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Avanya. Arya Baranwal against the motion.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to speak against the motion. Like some of my friends said, that being a child is hard because of the exam pressure and stuff. But don't you think that our parents are working so much hard for us? So can't we just give little a good percentage or good grades in return of their hard work? Thank you.
Thank you, Anwar. Arav Puri against the motion.
Kids don't have a more difficult life than adults because kids only have one job, that is generally to study, and on the other hand, adults have to work and take care of the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Arav. Joshua Quintal against the motion.
I think an adult's life is harder than a child's life, as we do not only have live examples in our audience, our teachers, because they don't only have workload, but they also have life after that, where they take care of their children and other students too. Thank you.
Well, just before I announce the results, I would like to take a quick poll. How many here actually think a child's life is harder than an adult's? And how many of you believe an adult's life is harder than a child's? Well, okay, thank you. You can put your hands down. Before announcing the results, I would like to thank a few people who made today's debate possible. I would like to thank Mr. Craig Tyndale, Shashwat, Lakshit, Tejas, Dorji and Sartaj for helping in the control room. I would like to thank the hall room monitors, Akash Bhaiya and Tanishk for recording this event. The individual positions are as follows. In second place, there is a tie between Aban Javed of Foy House and Arid Goel of Allen House. And in first place, we have Devishi Katyal of Pal. Before announcing the house positions, I would also like to thank our judges for today, Ma'am Crispin, Mr. James, Mr. Mandal and Mr. Christopher Singh. Thank you for judging this afternoon's debate. The house positions are as follows. In fourth place, we have Condon House. In third place, we have Pal House. In second place, we have Foy House. And in first place, we have Allen House.